Hello, welcome to Sky Society's Girl Dinner. Give you guys a couple minutes to come on and turn your cameras on. Hello, everyone. All right, if you guys can turn your cameras on, that'd be awesome. Hopefully, I see some of you girls in pink. I see a lot of you girls in pink. That's awesome. So I'm Natalie. I am the founder of Sky Society, and I'll be your host for this evening. So thank you all for coming. While we wait for everyone to join, if you girls can put where you're joining us from in the chat. So I'm from Austin. I'm in Huntington Beach right now visiting family, so not where I normally. Oh, I see San Diego. I was actually just there last weekend. Orlando. Gosh, we're all over. Okay, we'll get started in a minute. Hopefully everyone here has seen the Barbie. Yes, no spoilers. Yes. And anyone else that took forever to actually get to see the movie, I was trying to buy tickets for weeks when it first came out, and it was just completely sold out in the theaters just because they were competing so much with Oppenheimer. One person hasn't seen it. Mariah, you better after this event. Hopefully it'll be some good motivation. Okay. And everyone has their girl dinner? Yes. Okay. Oh, go ahead with some. I'm going to have you all share in just a minute. I'll remind you of this again, but we are doing a little contest for the most creative girl dinner. So if you want to participate in that, just take a picture of your girl dinner and DM Sky Society girl dinner on Instagram. And then we'll go through all of them. So you can DM us or you can tag us. But if you're private, we won't see it. So you can also just DM us your girl dinner photo on Instagram. So we're going to go ahead and start the event by we're all going to share our girl dinners. We're going to do 2 forms of networking. So we're going to do a 30-minute networking in different breakout rooms. You will share your girl dinner and discuss all things around the Barbie movie, the marketing strategies, and just different motifs and themes throughout the movie that pertain to women. Then we're going to go and do a little career workshop on how to think about your career as you move forward in marketing. And then we're going to end with some networking questions around that. So hopefully you will get to meet lots and lots of women in marketing throughout this event. To make it easier, because you guys are going to be meeting with so many different girls I'm going to put a little link there in the chat. We have a directory. So if you want to, after the event, you could go and fill out a little form and it'll put you in our Sky Society directory. It's only available to women that go to the events. So it's a way for you, like, let's say you're in a room with like 4 girls, you're not able to grab their LinkedIn's or Instagram. It's a way for you to go back after the event and connect with girls that went to the event or that you talked to. So you can do that after the event, no rush on that. And then I'll get to some of the icebreaker questions there in a second. Okay, so we're going to start off by showcasing your girl dinner the best you can on the screen. Brooke, so this is hosted also by our Sky Society Accelerator graduating class, and Brooke is going to take a photo of all of us holding up our girl dinners. I'll start. I have some macaroni and cheese and some dino nuggets. See, I see some charcuterie. Anyone else want to hold theirs up? Lots of little snack plates.
I'll give y'all a 1, 2, 3, okay?
All right, we'll do 1, 2, 3 with Brooke. Okay, I also have my poppy, so I'll hold them both up.
Okay, awesome. All right, you ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Awesome.
Got
you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and jump in and get started. Just to give you a quick intro on Sky Society and who I am and who we are. So Sky Society is a community specifically for women in marketing. Everything we do is about empowering young women to build careers within the marketing industry. We've been doing events like this for quite a while. I do see some familiar faces that have come to some other events before in the crowd, so great to see you back. But all of our events are pretty much aimed around helping you network with other people in the industry. I feel like everyone always tells you to network, but it's always really hard to figure out how to actually do that in a fun and meaningful way. And so this is hopefully a great opportunity for you girls to meet other women that are passionate about the same things that you are. I think most of you are hopefully in our LinkedIn group. If you're not, we have a private LinkedIn group with just 8,000 women in marketing in that group. So it's also a great place to connect and learn more. And then the girls that helped put together this event are our accelerator graduates who just graduated, and they did all the marketing and the creative aspect for the event that you're going to experience today. So we'll do a little Q&A in the middle if you have any questions for me about anything, but we're going to start with our breakout rooms. I'm going to put the link in the chat one more time in case you didn't get it. But on that website, there is a section that has all of the icebreaker questions. So we're going to start with round 1. Every round of networking, I call them kind of like speed dating or like speed networking, you're going to do a different round of questions so that all of your conversations are different. You're just doing the same intros in each round. But I do encourage you to like at least introduce yourself each time and say your name, where you're from, or just the basic info, and then you guys can dive into the discussion questions. Okay, any questions for me before we get started? Okay, I'm going to put the link one more time in the chat for everyone new that just joined. Make sure you grab that link. And if you do have questions throughout the event, just feel free to throw them in the chat or just speak up. I'm going to have to do some math here to see how many breakout rooms we're going to need. Let's see.
I'm doing a
Okay. I will put you in there for about 8 minutes and then I'll bring you back and we will switch rooms. Hey girls, welcome back.
Recording in progress.
All right. Everyone has the link. Yes, you're able to see the icebreaker questions.
yes.
Amazing. Okay, we're going to go to round 2. So you're going to go to the next slide on the questions. Going to mix up the rooms. Hopefully, sometimes Zoom isn't so great at making them random. I'm going to shuffle them a couple times. Okay, we'll bring you back in 8 minutes and you're on round 2 of the questions. Olivia, I didn't see you there. All right, you're muted. I don't know if you said anything, but great to see you.
Hey, oh yeah.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Okay, we are going to take a little break from networking. Hopefully you got to meet some awesome women. Again, after the event, make sure you go and you complete your profile in the directory and save that link. That way you can access the directory to just see other girls that have gone to events, and that way you can have a way to reach out to them on LinkedIn. we're going to move into a little career workshop, and everything we're going to talk to about today kind of has a central theme around the Barbie movie. And at the end of the Barbie movie, if you guys remember, Barbie says, "What if I want to be an ordinary Barbie?" So one of the things that I hope to help all of you girls with today is just rethinking about how to even think about what you want to do within your life and your career. If you girls don't already know, I host a podcast. It's called the Sky Society Podcast, and I interview women in marketing that work in all different types of careers and professions. And I think we're at like 70 something episodes right now. So I've listened to a lot of different women in marketing's career journeys, and I've learned a lot from all of them. And so this is kind of just me condensing some of that for you. So one thing you get asked a lot, and even I will ask you girls, is what is your dream job? Like, what do you want to do? What do you want? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, what career do you want? We're constantly asked this. Even when you're in school, you have to figure out, what do you want to major in after school? What job are you going to get? Okay, you get that first job. Okay, when am I going to get promoted? And we're always asked, like, what is this job that we want? And so I kind of want to rephrase this a little bit. And the girls in my accelerator know that I always start teaching by reframing this a little bit. But I want to go into what career contentment actually means. And so what being happy in your job actually looks like. And so a lot of research has been done around it. And there are these 5 things that actually make the job that you have fulfilling and something that you really love. And it has nothing to do with what you actually do or what the title of that job is or what company you work at. And so there's 5 things. One is that you're helping others. You feel like you are, doing something good in the world. And it doesn't need to mean that you work for a nonprofit. It can just mean that you really believe in the product that you sell or the company that you work for, and you believe what they do helps other people. The second is being good at your work, that when you go into work every day, you feel like you are doing a good job. You don't feel like you are failing, or you don't feel like you're not succeeding. It's challenging, but you feel like you're good at it. The next, that you have good relationships with your colleagues. No one ever talks about this, but I can think back at some of the best jobs I've had, and they were the best because I loved who I worked with. Like, my coworkers were my friends. I actually enjoyed going to the office and seeing them every day. So actually enjoying the people that you work with. The fourth is life fit. And this is going to be different for everybody. Some of you may want to work remote because you have a dog at home, or you have, family you need to take care of. Some of you may need to get out of the house because you can't stand living with your family. I'm with my family. I've been here for about 5 days, and I'm just ready to go back to Austin. So one of those things, maybe if it's in person or remote. One may be salary. Some of you may be able to afford a lower salary in exchange for experience when you start your career. Others cannot. And so what does that life fit look like? Travel. Do you want to travel? Can you travel? Or are there reasons you can't and you need to be back at home? And so really thinking through what that life fit looks like for you. And the last is engaging work. And what engaging work looks like is having autonomy over what you do. We've all had those internships where you maybe went in and you were told what to do, and also maybe didn't have enough work to do. Like, you were kind of always asking, is there anything else I can do? Do you need my help with anything? So autonomy and clear tasks, that you feel like you have independence over your work and that you know what you're going to do every day when you go in. Receiving feedback from your work so you feel like you are improving and you are getting better. And then variety of work, so you're not doing the same thing every single day. Now, I bet most of you maybe haven't really thought of these things when you're thinking about what your dream job is, or even when you're asking yourself if you're happy with your job. If any of you are at a job and you're not feeling very fulfilled, I really encourage you to go back to these 5 things and really ask yourself if you have all of these. And if you don't, that it's okay to go find a new job that helps you get these things. And it's also important to understand when you're in interviews to be able to know how to tell if this job is going to give you these 5 things, right? The first is, like, if you're in an interview, ask yourself, do I like the product that this company sells? And it doesn't mean that it needs to be something you personally use. So for example, one of my first jobs, I worked at a software company for plumbers. Like, no one would ever say that was their dream job, working at a software company for plumbers, but I loved it because I was good at what I did. I felt like I was growing and learning a lot. I loved the colleagues. I love my coworkers. It was a good life fit because I was like getting out of the house and being social every single day. And I was really engaged by my work. And the software that we sold helped people. And I loved that. I love seeing businesses grow using our software. So it doesn't need to be the most glamorous job, but these are 5 things I really encourage you to write down. And when you're in interviews, think, oh, do I get along with people that I'm interviewing with? Do I think they would be, friends of mine? Or does this job fit within my current life situation? And will this be engaging for me? Okay, so this is career contentment. So what I love to remind you is to think about first, what do you value? Okay. One thing, and all my podcast guests, so many of them will start with this, is do you even know what you value? Right. And what does that actually look like for you? And so it's not, you don't value workplace automation and you don't value analytics, right? Actually thinking deeper and more authentic to who you are of what do you actually value? And then using that as a starting point for what type of jobs and careers are going to be a good fit for you. The second thing I want you to ask yourself is what energizes you? So you're often asked, what are you passionate about? And it's really hard to figure out what that is. And some of you may know, I'm really passionate about this and this is what I want to do. And you have it all figured out and others don't. And if you are someone that doesn't really know what you're passionate about, think about the work that energizes you, the work that expands you, the work that when you're doing it, you could just keep doing it forever. For me, it was always my little side hustles for entrepreneurship, right? I would do my job, but this was something that was just so much fun. I could work 18 hours and it wouldn't even matter because it was energizing and give me more energy. And it doesn't need to be, it can be things that you may start with things that aren't really in your work realm, right? It can be things that aren't even related to your job that are giving you energy, but thinking about this first of what energizes you. And sometimes when you're young, making money is really energizing. And that's also okay, right? Hustling, working, making money. I feel like as women, maybe that's not something that we feel as comfortable talking about, but that's okay if that's a thing that energizes you. But you're also going to find that that's going to change as you grow older and as you evolve. Okay, so instead of what is my dream job, we're thinking, what do I value and what energizes me? And what I will always also remind my students is that circumstance is more important than subject matter. It's the circumstance surrounding your job that is going to make you happy and fulfilled, not the subject matter of the work that you are doing. In the podcast, I will always I interview tons of women, like I said, in different career paths. And so many of them didn't actually know what they wanted to do when they started. They more so kind of just fell into it, right? They got one job and that led to something else. And it was never something they had ever intentionally planned. But it didn't really matter because it wasn't the subject matter of what they were doing. It was more so the circumstances that surrounded that job and that they were able to grow into. So it's okay if you don't have it all figured out. But I really encourage you to look at the circumstances surrounding those jobs and surrounding different careers to figure out what is actually the best fit for you. So one thing is we can go back to Barbie movie of sometimes we often put ourselves in a box. And I see this so many times with women in marketing, especially young women in marketing. When I ask you girls, what do you want to do? So many of you will say something along the lines of social media marketing, and I want to work in the beauty or fashion industry. Probably the most common answer I get, which is okay. Okay, that's fine. But there's so much more than that. So I put this as the list of things that I think most people want to go into or what I hear most common. There are so many other jobs than the ones listed here on the left and so many other industries outside of this that you aren't even aware of. Like you don't even know what you don't know. It is so vast. So I want to show you a couple examples of women I've interviewed on the podcast that have different, very unique jobs that you never, like I bet if I asked any of you in this room, none of you would say, oh, I want to work in brand marketing on food and beverage innovation. Right? But that job probably sounds pretty cool. And it sounds something that maybe some of you are like, actually, that may click for me. But it's not anything you're necessarily taught in school. It's a specific option for yourself. This is Chelsea. We just actually released her episode this week. And she was the one that helped come up with relaunch the new queso at Chipotle, amongst other fun relaunches of their food and beverages, which you never would even think is a job. Then we have Kayla. She was a senior shopping editor at BuzzFeed. Literally she would get sent free products to write about. That was her job. And she would just write about them. And then we have Alaya. She is a quantum community event manager, and her job is super interesting. She was in retail for a really long time until eventually making the switch into marketing in an area that, again, no one would ever think that a quantum community event manager even exists. And so I show you these three examples to hopefully challenge you that there is so much more outside of what your current perspective is on your career path that you could do. And for all these girls, they work at pretty big companies. And when you look at the Sky Society podcast page, we have something like this, where essentially it shows all the companies that our guests have worked at. And I have this here on the website because so many of you also want to work at really big companies, because there's a clout and a status associated with that. But also there are so many incredible guests I've interviewed whose companies didn't make this list because maybe they weren't the most known or the most memorable, that are just as valuable and just as successful as the other girls that work at these big companies. So I also challenge you to not just, and this goes back to what you value. Some of you may value status, and that's okay. And you may want to work and really, really want to work at a really big company. But some of you, if status maybe isn't something you value as much, don't get caught up in the big name brands that seem really glamorous on LinkedIn. I think it's really easy to compare yourself to what other jobs people are getting. But working at the smaller jobs companies is sometimes even more fun. I interviewed a guest actually today that she works in sports marketing, and she's been working in women's soccer for years. And she went from, working on like the US women's team to now doing a really small club. And that with that change to a smaller company, she gets to, be more creative and innovative and bring more ideas to the table. So big companies and small companies have their advantage. That's something else I really encourage you to look at is, what fits better for you, a big corporation or a small startup. And these are all little questions along the way that are really important to ask yourself. All right, so some places where I encourage you to start when it comes to thinking about where you want to go within your career. The biggest thing is to be curious. And you coming here today and doing this event and meeting other women in marketing is a huge step towards that, of just being open-minded to meeting other women in that space, but really exposing yourself to more of those opportunities. And I think it's really, really scary. And I know, all of you showed up to this event, which was great. I would always be guilty of signing up for events and never showing up to them, because when the time would come, I would get too scared or back out or make an excuse or for whatever it is. But just be curious about learning about new things. And it doesn't necessarily need to be specifically in the industry you thought it would be. Marketing is really, really broad. That's one of the really beautiful things about it, is that there's so many different things you could do within the realm of marketing. If we're including PR in that realm, it's even bigger. So there's so many areas you could go, and just be really curious about what other people are doing, what's out there. So that way you can learn more opportunities that could be available to you. So 3 things I'm going to go over to help you be more curious. The first is to do things for fun. So I was guilty of only reading business and marketing books for years. That's all I would read: business, marketing, business, marketing, business, marketing. And I was really pigeonholing myself into what I was creative about, and reading just kind of started to feel like work. So explore books and podcasts outside of your typical genre. Hear interviews from people from all walks of life, even outside of marketing. Pick up a book that is totally outside of the realm that you would normally listen to, and just be curious about things for fun. I started going to a place called Half Priced Books. And I wouldn't look on Amazon, because reviews are, it's easy to want to look at the reviews, and I'd go pick up something random, like a book about dreams, to just read, to try to get out of the world that I am in every single day, and removing myself from that, even gives me more creative ideas for my own work, because I am getting different perspectives that most people in my industry are not. Exploring hobbies. So what do you like to do outside of your job? And making sure that there is something outside of that. And if you don't have something, try new things. If you do have a hobby, pick up other ones. Doing this creative work is going to free up your mind to also think about other things. And sometimes you will solve problems for yourself when you're not even actively solving the problem. So I think hobbies are a great thing to pick up. And the last thing is doing mock projects and playing pretend. So I call it playing pretend, but you could do this for any marketing job. If you're someone that doesn't have a lot of experience in marketing, I think this is a really good exercise where you play pretend and you say, okay, if I were the social media marketer for Glossier, this is how I would redo their Instagram. If I was the influencer marketing manager for Vacation Sunscreen, this is how I would do their fall influencer campaign. So you can kind of do these mock projects for yourself. It's really good to help you build your portfolio, but when you're doing these projects, you'll also get to figure out, okay, was this really fun for me, or did this feel like burdensome work? I think doing blog posts, you could say, if I was the SEO manager or the blog or the content marketer for Rare Beauty, these are the types of blog posts I would write. And so I really love this playing pretend, or this mock this project area as a way for you to explore new areas and also build experience for your own portfolio. Right, then being more mindful. I have had so many guests just tell me how this has helped them so much in their career. And it's something that I personally had struggled with when I started, is I was just so focused on getting promoted and getting a raise that I never actually stopped to ask myself if I was happy where I was. So questions to ask yourself when you are at your current job and you're doing certain projects: do you feel energized by those? Which ones give you energy? Which ones do not? Do you actually enjoy the work you're doing, or do you just enjoy parts of the work you're doing? And if so, which parts do you like? Do I like my coworkers? If I like certain coworkers, what about those coworkers do I like? What does that show me about what I value, right? If I like certain people, what characteristics do they have that makes me drawn to them? What type of work do I dread or avoid? Is there any work that you just put off forever and you procrastinate? When I figured this out, this made my life so much easier when I just started to say, okay, you don't have to be good at everything. That's okay. You could delegate. And when I started to realize the things that I was not good at, it made my life so much easier, because I just said, I don't really want to do those things, right? And I can move into a role where I don't have to do those pieces. And then what other roles at my company look interesting? So if you are at a company, if you're in marketing or if you're not in marketing, look around you. What jobs do people have around you in different departments? And can you go up and talk to them and ask them, like, to shadow them for a couple hours, or to learn more about what they do and to be interested? It's such a really cool way to also grow at your company or to make transitions. And I hear this time and time again too from podcast guests, of that they may have started, or today, since this podcast guest is fresh because I just interviewed her, she started out in event marketing and then realized that she loved the partnership aspect of it and started talking to people at her company, doing coffee chats with them, until she was eventually able to switch from events into partnerships. So talking to other people at your company and really getting a holistic view of what other roles you can transition into. And my last thing for you is to talk to more people and to be really vocal about what you're looking for. So we all know about coffee chats. I don't need to tell you to do those, you know those, but I have some questions here that I encourage you to ask people. And coffee chats don't necessarily need to be so structured. Like, you may just be at a party and you're talking to a girl and you realize that she has a job that is interested, or you go to a family function and your aunt's cousin or your aunt's boyfriend or something, you learn about his job and you ask, you're curious. Or if you're on a bus and you just start talking to the person next to you. So strict coffee chats are great too, but just also being curious about the people that you run into. So questions I love asking is, why did you choose this job or career? When I started out, when I was in college, I was actually a finance major and I was in a business fraternity. And in that fraternity, I asked all of the other, like the higher ups, what they were majoring in and why. And I realized that everyone majoring in finance or accounting did that for job security, and everyone majoring in marketing did that because they wanted to be creative or they were passionate about it in some way. And I realized I resonated more with the answers for the girls in the people in marketing. So thinking about and asking the why, like, why did you choose this? Why do you like it? And just kind of trying to see if that resonates with you or not. Is your role creative, analytical, collaborative, challenging? What type of skills are they using? What are the characteristics that go along with that role? Because it's easy to say, if you ask someone what is a day in their life, they may list a bunch of things that may mean nothing to you. But maybe you know that you like to be collaborative, so you can ask them that. Or you are more of an analytical person, and you can ask them if their role is analytical. Or you like a challenge. And so asking them those specific characteristics. What does your lifestyle look like out of work? Some of you maybe want to work a 9 to 5 and after that have your own free time. Some of you may want to travel a lot. Some of you may want to work a lot because you love to throw yourself into your work. So asking them, what does your lifestyle look like? What do you do outside of your job? Do you have time to have a life outside of your job? And getting to ask those lifestyle questions is so important. I went through a lot of things I wanted to be, but I wanted to be a lawyer at some point too. And I interned for a law firm in New York. And I worked under 2 incredible women, and they were awesome, but they also spent their whole lives working, and they were in the office at 7 a.m. and they didn't leave until like 10 p.m. And I realized that that was not a career path that was going to be for me. And so considering the lifestyle of these people, what do you think I should know about your job or career? You may not know all the questions to ask someone, and that's okay. And be honest about that. I don't really know what to ask you, but what do you think I should know? I think that's a great one to ask. And then lastly, what does growth look like in your role? So you may talk to someone and they may be a social media manager, you're asking them, what does the future look like in your role? And so you can get a bigger picture of that. Okay, so when you do meet other people, just asking deeper and better questions to understand. Okay, and then throwing it back to my Barbie is thinking about what Barbie you want to be. And also just knowing that your answer is going to change so much of who you want to be. And it's going to change as you grow and as your life changes around you. And one of the questions I asked in the breakout rooms, or I think I might ask them in the next one if I haven't already, is if you have any self-limiting beliefs on what you can be. I know sometimes too, for me going into a creative field, my parents were very much like, math and science is the only way to be successful in life. And it was really hard for me to just like go into this because it was like, well, I was told that there's only one way to be successful, and doing this seemed very, very off course. And some of you may have that in your life too, of like, what do I feel like I should be? Who do I feel like I should be or I need to be? What do I feel like I should do because of my environment, my upbringing, the people around me? And are there any, self-limiting beliefs I have on myself that's preventing me from truly exploring what energizes me? And so, unfortunately, I'm not here today to tell you the specific career path that is perfect for you, because that is entirely unique to yourself. I encourage you to be curious and learn from others. I encourage you to be mindful with yourself about what energizes you and about what makes you happy. And even though all of the stars may not align for you right now, if you start with yourself and with what you value and with what you want, and you start taking baby steps towards that, I promise you, you're going to be so much far ahead in the long run. I always say, think not what job you want next, but what job you want 2 jobs from now, and really start working towards that. Okay. I'm going to stop there. Any questions for me about anything related to marketing, career, or anything I went over? You could speak, Alyssa.
Hi, sorry. I just wanted to ask you about don't think of the job now, but the job you want in 2 jobs from now. I don't think I understood that to the full extent.
Yes, great question. Okay, one example could be, let's say that you have no experience right now and you are really interested in social media marketing. And let's say you're applying to a lot of marketing jobs right now and you're really struggling getting that title because it's super competitive and everyone really wants to work in social media marketing. So you maybe can't get the social media marketing role right now, but that's where you want to be. So maybe you start off with this first job of thinking, okay, what is a job I can get that I'm going to learn a ton? So maybe it's a marketing assistant role. Maybe it's a role that's not even directly within marketing, but has a component where you're managing social accounts. So thinking so if you're struggling, you're like, okay, I really want this marketing coordinator job, but I cannot get this right now. What is the in-between step for me so I can start getting experience and I'm not just stuck and I'm not moving because I'm waiting to get here. So I'm just like staying here until I can make this jump, but instead make like a half jump to then get there. You can also think even long-term. So let's say you are in social media and you know that you want to be a manager, right? That's what you want. You want to lead teams. And so thinking, okay, I know I don't have enough experience right now to be a manager, but what can I start doing to help me get to that next role after that, right? So how can I start getting more leadership? And so even if you can't get to the role that you really, really want, thinking about how you can start building those skills and experience right now, so you're not just staying still, you're still moving forward.
Makes a lot more sense. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Julia.
I was just wondering if you could talk a bit more about how you made that transition from working at that plumbing company to now owning your own marketing company, and how that was for you.
Yeah, crazy. So how it happened for me is actually I started with the podcast. So I really knew I wanted to leave. At that job, I was constantly, I did love that role, and I had a really awesome boss, and he gave me a lot of responsibility that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise, but I kept being told that I had to prove myself. I don't know if anyone has been in this boat before, in order to get a raise and promotion. And I really just felt stuck. And so I wanted to move forward, but I didn't really know how. I didn't have anybody in that space that I could talk to, that could mentor me. And so I started with the podcast. I was like, okay, the podcast, at least this will be a start where I can start talking to people, basically an excuse for me to give myself a bunch of coffee chats, but record them. And when I started the podcast, COVID hit a little bit after, and so many people were unemployed and not working. And all throughout college, I'd worked a ton. That was my superpower, was always just being able to get internships and jobs I was unqualified for. So I had the idea to start what is now our accelerator, which is a program where we help women get experience to start careers in marketing. And so I was doing my full-time job, and then I started just doing outreach for my first class. And I ended up getting girls to say yes to that. So I had saved up a lot of money. As I told you, I also was the finance major. So I also had like invested, and I don't know if anyone is familiar with what happened in COVID, but basically all the prices dropped and then they went like overinflated. It was like a really crazy thing. So I had enough money to save up to do this first class and to support myself while I wasn't working. And so, yeah, that was how I made this decision. The podcast was kind of like my jumping off point to get into the industry and get credibility. And then I used that to then do the accelerator. So I didn't know I was going to do the accelerator. That is the main thing that I do now. It started with the podcast. So also, if you do want to start your own business, it's okay if you don't know like what the exact thing is that you want to do. I didn't know yet either. I just knew that I wanted to do something for myself, and the podcast was my jumping off point. Lauren.
Hello. Hi. Thank you. I've loved your group on LinkedIn. It's been awesome.
Thank you.
My question is, how do you keep your resilience up when you're applying to hundreds of jobs and getting discouraged and hearing nothing? I'm in social media, just like you said, social media and event planning. So I'd love to know what you think.
Yes, I'm sure a lot of you can all relate to how hard it is to apply to lots of jobs and get rejected a lot. That was one of the biggest reasons why I started the LinkedIn group, was because I know it feels super isolating when you're going through that. So the first thing I would tell you, and I hope the group gives you that, is that you are not alone and that there is nothing wrong with you. Okay, I feel like that's the first thing, is that being able to take the rejection and know that it's not because you're doing anything wrong, and not taking it personally, which is a lot harder said than done. And so I think that is the first step to it. The other step that I encourage girls to do when they're struggling with this job hunt is to give yourself breaks when you're doing it. I think that it's really easy to just like apply and burn yourself out, and then you get so tired that you just like don't apply to jobs for like a month or something, or you just like get burned out and you take big pauses. So also just like setting goals for yourself. And then I think something else is that sometimes you feel like you're not moving or you feel stuck. And so in this time that you're applying to jobs, is to try to also do things to add to your portfolio or to add to your resume. So I think certifications are a really great way to start. I know LinkedIn has a ton of free ones that you can do. I love the Google Analytics free certification. I think that's a great one. Doing coffee chats, I think are also great. So you may have your application goal of like, okay, I'm going to apply to 15 jobs a week, but I'm also going to try to talk to one person a week. And I'm also going to try to, do one certification a month. And then I'm also going to refill my own cup and my own energy by doing whatever energizes you, by exercising, by taking bubble baths, by window shopping online. And so you are also scheduling in that recovery time, because what I find that typically leads to burnout, and I've struggled with burnout too, is that you don't schedule any of that recovery or like self-care time in. And then typically what I see happen is like a cyclical, like apply to jobs for 3 months, get burnt out, don't apply to jobs for a month, then it kind of goes up and down.
Thank you.
Kadri, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yes, you did say it right. Hi, nice to meet you.
Meet you.
Hi, so I have a question. I would say it's more so like advice that I'm looking for, because you mentioned putting yourself in a box within a certain industry, which is, I'm guilty of doing that, honestly, just because I really do want to work like in the beauty, like marketing world. Right now I'm working at Sephora, but I did get my degree in advertising and PR. So I'm just trying to merge the two worlds together. But I feel like, especially with the job hunt, I know we touched upon this, it's really difficult to like apply a lot of jobs and get burnt out. So I guess I'm at a point where I'm like, do I continue to apply for jobs within a certain industry and put myself in a box, or should I venture out and just try different things until like I get to where I want to be? Because I guess what my how I look at it is like if I don't have like beauty marketing roles, like I can't get to where I want to be because I don't have that experience. So I'm just looking for advice on that, really.
Yeah, that's a really, really tough one. Because that's where exactly where you want to be and you're struggling to get that first step. And beauty especially is super competitive. Um,
Mhm.
you can look at things that are a little bit outside of beauty, but still similar. So beauty, you're selling. So there's different ways to think about it. For beauty, you could say, okay, you're selling a product, almost like CPG, consumer packaged goods. So if I can't work at a beauty company, maybe I can work at something that is a little bit similar. So maybe like an e-commerce company or company that sells something online or does that type of market. You can also think of demographics. Okay, maybe I really want to work at a beauty company that is, targeted for, I don't know, you like Glow Recipe. And so maybe you try to work with a company that maybe has more like a female audience. So you get experience with marketing into that audience and that similar demographic. So maybe you don't, so I think this is like the thinking 2 jobs from now, right? So maybe you don't get the direct beauty experience, but you're close to it. And so trying to find jobs that are just outside of that you feel like have transferable skills. So you can even look at the beauty job descriptions for those, marketing jobs in beauty, see what they're asking for and what type of experience they're looking for, and then trying to find jobs that are similar and that are going to give you that experience. So that way, and you get a job out of Sephora, you go get a job, you get that one for a year, you learn a ton about marketing and you finally have marketing on your resume, and then you have beauty on your resume from Sephora, and then hopefully the next job you get can combine that Sephora experience with the marketing experience to then marry the two.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I didn't look at it that way, but that helps a lot. So thank you.
Of course. Kayla.
Hi, I just wanted to ask about how you get over imposter syndrome, especially, starting your own business, which would maybe be something I'm really interested in, or even if it just comes to applying to a role that maybe 2 of the bullet points I'm underqualified for, because sometimes I just like can't get out of the mindset that, my previous roles have been internships or being an assistant. And like I know like deep down, like this would be a role that's great for me, but I just can't get out of the mindset that like I'm not enough.
Oh, I still struggle with that. It never goes away. I don't think it ever does. So when applying to jobs, I'll give you advice first in that area. So like I said, when I was in college, I did a ton of internships. I was qualified for 0 of those roles, like none. All I had before was waitressing experience. I wasn't qualified for anything. I was just naive enough to think that I could get them. That was literally all I had was naivety. And so it's totally it's totally normal to feel this imposter syndrome. One thing that helps me now, because I still struggle with it even within my own business all of the time, is that when I do something good or when someone says something good, or I just feel really proud of work that I did, like I have a moment where I'm really proud of myself, I will record it. So for me, I have a little channel in Slack where I put screenshots of things you girls will send me, or screenshots my students will send me of just positive things. And then when I'm in a moment when I'm feeling this imposter syndrome and I'm feeling like I'm not good enough, then I go back to that and I remind myself, of the things I have accomplished and that I am enough for what I'm doing. And so maybe doing something like that where you keeping track or monitoring the things that you're doing really well. And then also just knowing that you not having the experience and you not having every single thing on the job description is also totally okay. And there's not going to be a perfect candidate. You never will be. And you deserve a place in that room just as much as everyone else.
No, thank you. I appreciate your advice.
Okay. Stavriana.
Hi. So I've been applying to jobs, like a lot of jobs. And I've been trying to reach out to like human resources and on LinkedIn and stuff, and trying to get like differentiate myself from other people and like trying to sell myself and like trying to like get an interview, but I've never no one reaches out. I don't get like a response back. And I was just wondering like how to like different ways to kind of do that and in a better way.
Yeah, I think we actually just released a podcast episode. I think it's called Your Guide to Coffee Chats or something like that. And the guest I interviewed like got all of her jobs by doing outreach like that. So I'll encourage you to check out the episode. But what you're doing, I think, is awesome of reaching out, and like you're not waiting for them, you're putting yourself in front of them. I think what you put in that message also matters. One thing I encourage everyone to do is to build a portfolio. Do you have a portfolio? Sure.
I do not.
Okay, so I'll encourage you to do something that shows the work that you have done. And if you are like, well, Natalie, I don't have any experience, do the kind of mock project thing that I showed you. And even to take it a next level is, let's say you really want to work for, I always use Rare Beauty as an example. Let's say you really want to work for Rare Beauty. You see a social media job and you really want it, do a social media project for them without them asking and send that to them. And so for some, you can't, obviously that's not realistic for you to do for every single company because that's just going to take a lot of your time. But for some of the ones that you really want, of doing something really specific or really sharing your insights and showing that you are doing above and beyond. I had some people that I've talked to that even did like special customized resumes where they do the resume like customized to that company. It's like a resume that like is in the Rare Beauty design. So that's one thing you can do. And then I'd also encourage you to build a portfolio so you can show them the work that you've done, and that'll help you kind of overcome that hurdle of not having enough experience.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yes. And Brianna put in the chat that Canva has great portfolio templates. They absolutely do. We also have some in our LinkedIn group if you search portfolio.
Amazing. Thank you.
Haley.
This question is just out of more so curiosity rather than like advice, but out of the people you've interviewed for your podcast, how many would you say had the like goal of like, I want to work at blank company, like I want to work at Nike, and they were very like straight, like it's straight shot, like they were very direct? And how many people would you say were they kind of not pivoted, but like like doors opened in different ways and they ended up like the person you interviewed who was like a recipe developer at Chipotle? Like how many people would you say kind of went that route of more so like having, maybe they had their mind super set at first, but then as time went on and they gained experience, they kind of ended up somewhere they never expected to be?
I would say 1 in 10 knew exactly where they wanted to be. It is way more rare than you think. I would also say out of that 1 in 10, it wasn't necessarily their first job. Sometimes it was later. Like I had one that she really wanted to work at Amazon, but it was like way later in her career. And she interviewed for years before she ever even got to work at Amazon. She worked at big companies before, but she had one job that she really wanted. She interviewed a lot and kept getting rejected for roles and kept getting rejected and kept getting rejected until she finally got that job. A lot of times they may know I want to work in marketing or I want to work in sports marketing, but they don't necessarily have a very specific company and title that they want to work at. I would say it's a little bit more rare. Okay, and then our last one, Michelle. Go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to know how you got your internships and also what sites you recommend us to search for jobs and apply for jobs on.
I got my first one at Handshake. So I think that's a really great one for internships specifically. I know a lot of you girls might use that. Outside of that, so there's so many sites. I know if you girls see on TikTok, a lot of people are going to say, here are some sites you should use. Most companies, so it depends, but to list your job costs money, right? You don't just get to list your job on these websites for free. That's how LinkedIn makes money, is they charge companies to list the job. So Indeed makes money. So that's why we get to use the platforms for free. They're the ones paying. So when I see those things that are like, here are the secret spots to find jobs, I'm really hesitant, because if you are a company, you want your job to be seen by the most people possible. So like, why are you going to put it on some obscure job site? And I'm sure that there are definitely some that you can find for companies that may not want to pay. But a lot of companies use ZipRecruiter and what they do is they pay for ZipRecruiter, and ZipRecruiter will put their job out on Indeed, LinkedIn, Monster, like it'll put it out on all of the places. So just be mindful of that, of like avoiding the goose chase. And I know sometimes you girls have probably also come across fake marketing jobs or marketing jobs that are sales jobs. So you kind of have to be careful. So I'd still really like LinkedIn and Indeed because of that. I also think a lot of times there are like Facebook groups for community in your communities that may be sharing jobs, and being connected with people on LinkedIn that are also posting about that. So growing your network in your industry and in your space to be able to see those listings when they happen. But for internships, I love Handshake. Other than that, I think you can find most jobs on Indeed and LinkedIn. And if you want to look for more, I think Google is also kind of a secret one. It's similar to like Google Flights, where if you go to Google Flights, you get to see flights from every single airline. Google's job search platform is similar to that, where it'll show the jobs from like all the different platforms. Yeah, if anyone else does have one they like, if you want to put it in the chat. Thank you, Kayla, for putting that one. But yeah, if anyone else has one they love, put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, we're at the end of our timer, so I can't answer any more questions right now. If you want to, you can message me personally on LinkedIn, or you can ask it in the group and I will respond. I want us to end with one last networking. We're not going to have enough time to do all of the networking rounds because our Q&A took a while, but I'm glad I did. I hopefully those questions and answers were helpful. Let me know more that you have. Again, you can either message me directly on LinkedIn, or you can post in the LinkedIn group, or message me on Insta or whatever, and I'm happy to answer. I'm going to put you guys back for one last breakout room. There's more questions. If you guys go through, you can just like pick one of the cards and do any of them because we only have time for one more. So I'll put you in this last breakout room, and then I'll bring you back and we'll say goodbye for our night. Hopefully y'all are full from your girl dinner. Is it enough? Yes. Saw Olivia chugging back some wine. Okay. I'm going to switch up these rooms. Make this one a little shorter since it's our last one, but I'll put you in there for about 6 minutes, and then I will bring you girls back.
Let's see how. Oh. Oh.
All right. Wait for everyone to come back on the screen. Well, thank you so much all for coming to today's event. And huge thank you to our Sky Society Accelerator graduating class for helping put on this event for all of you. So thank you, Kylie, Vero, Nicole, Tenny, Brooke, Alexis, and Hope. It has been so much fun. And again, if you guys have any other questions at all, or if you have any suggestions on resources I should create for the group, or anything else you'd like to see from Sky Society, please let me know. You have the link to the directory and stuff if you guys want to participate in that. So hold on to those links. And then we're going to be doing another event next month in October, and it's going to have like a Halloween theme to it. So keep an eye out for that. But again, thank you all so much for coming tonight, and I will see you all in the LinkedIn group.